Funding for the Maddy Report is made possible by grants from BNSF Railway, moving our economy for 160 years. Harris Ranch Resort, providing Western hospitality and award-winning cuisine. The Wonderful Company, committed to growing a better world. Comcast, connecting people to the moments and experiences that matter most. Producers Dairy, nourishing one life at a time. The Spencer Family, and Fresno State Associated Students Incorporated, students serving students. The Maddy Report is also made possible thanks to contributions from Cook Land Company, E&J Gallo Winery, the Fresno Association of Realtors, and California Manufacturing and Engineering Company. From the Maddy Institute, the Public Policy Institute for the Valley's 4 public universities, this is the Maddy Report with Executive Director of the Maddy Institute, Blake Zante.
Welcome to the Maddy Report. I'm Blake Zante, Executive Director of the Maddy Institute and host of the Maddy Report. Today we'll be having a conversation with mayors in the Central Valley to discuss what local governments are doing to uplift their local communities. I'm here with Modesto Mayor Sue Zwahlen, who has been serving as mayor of Modesto since February of 2021 and previously served 2 terms as a Modesto City School Board member. Mayor Zwahlen, welcome to the Maddy Report. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're glad to have you. Well, first, I'd like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Can you just tell us a little bit about your role as mayor and the career that sort of led you to where you are today?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I was born in Modesto, and very typical story, had immigrant grandparents. One side was Portuguese, one side Swiss German. They were dairy farmers here. And I met my husband in high school, and after high school, I went to nursing school, and then we were married, and we went to dental school for him to complete that training, moved back to Modesto, and I've been an emergency room nurse for 42 years. So I'm a registered nurse, still have my license. My husband's been a practicing dentist here. We have 6 adult children and now 14 grandchildren. And as you mentioned, I served 8 years on the Modesto City Schools Board of Education, and then have been really honored to serve as mayor the past 4 years. And I've been reelected for another 4-year term, and that happened in the California primary in March.
Great, thank you. And what are some of the major challenges facing the city of Modesto at the moment? I mean, Modesto is one of the largest cities in the north, San Joaquin Valley. What are some of the challenges that Modesto is experiencing?
We have the same challenges probably that you would expect in every large city. But I would say the one that is probably closest on my mind recently has to do with transportation and traffic collisions. And I am excited to say that we are starting a Safe Streets and Roads for All comprehensive safety action plan to address that. And that plan will engage the public. We've already had one meeting. It was well attended. And that plan will be the foundation for achieving hopefully 0 traffic deaths and severe injuries. So as an emergency room nurse, you can imagine that, that's really, really important to me, and I've had a lot of experience with that. So this task force with key stakeholders, I think, will really help in developing a plan going forward. But as I mentioned, we do have the other problems that large cities have, but the good thing is we're really being very proactive in addressing those quality of life issues.
That's great. And so, maybe on that front, what are some of your top priorities as mayor of Modesto? And maybe, we asked about challenges, but if you could elaborate on some of the opportunities and the exciting initiatives that are going on in the city.
Right. Well, as I mentioned, with public safety is my top priority. We are doing very well with hiring new law enforcement officers. So that's exciting for Modesto. That's a challenge everywhere. We're addressing that head on. As I mentioned, the traffic control is a priority. Response times, so I work on the SR 911 Commission. And then quality of life, I would say, is my second priority. and that is regarding homelessness and also things such as our trees. We're a city of trees. Addressing blight. We've established a blight committee, and they work really well together and help us become aware of issues that we need to address. But the biggest thing with that is probably that we passed Measure H, which was a sales tax that passed overwhelmingly, which is really helping us with the resources to address these issues. Third priority is economic development, attracting businesses, of course, as well as housing. We've done some rezoning and are looking at annexation, and we are currently updating our general plan, which has not been updated since 1995. So that's a huge initiative going forward.
Great, thank you. Up next, we'll talk more about recent initiatives that Modesto has been focusing on. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back to the Maddy Report. I'm here with Modesto Mayor Sue Zwahlen. Back in March, Mayor, you gave the State of the City address in which you outlined some of Modesto's accomplishments in the past year and discussed initiatives that are currently underway and also looked ahead to the future of the Modesto community. Could you sort of just sum up for us, and I know it was probably a very comprehensive address, but what did your address really focus on?
We focused, as you mentioned, on accomplishments over the last year, but also our vision for the future of our community. And first, I would say it was on accountability. And we have, as I mentioned, with regards to Measure H, the sales tax measure that passed, we formed a Measure H oversight board. We also have done police reform and have a community police review board and an independent police auditor. We're also focused on a more equitable community. So with that, our Modesto Police Department was designated as the very first autism certified police department in California. So our officers are equipped with the tools and with the understanding of how to interact with individuals with autism and how to address their very unique needs. We're focused also on culture. And that is, there's so many things that I could talk about with that. But we did, of course, lift our cruising ban. We've had the grand opening of the Modesto Children's Museum. We are the home of American graffiti. So we're proud of that. And we're one of the few cities that has its own symphony, opera, and ballet. So the arts and culture are extremely important to our residents as they are to me and to our council. We have multiple downtown murals. We have tours of our murals. We just recently had 4 new additional murals, and we've also just gone into a proposal and working with the USL Soccer League. They want to bring both a men's and women's team to the city of Modesto. So there's so much going on that we're looking forward to.
Well, that's great. It seems like there's a lot of cultural initiatives and things that are sort of aimed to help, people in Modesto feel pride in their city and their community. And so that sounds like there's some really great initiatives going on. One of the other, major programs that you highlighted in this address was the Cap to Home program. Could you tell us a little bit about what is that initiative? What is Cap to Home?
Well, it is the Camp to Home.
Camp to Home, excuse me.
Initiative, yes, for our to assist our unhoused people. So this is really, it's a path to self-sufficiency. And I truly believe that each person that is unhoused has a unique situation. And through the Camp to Home initiative, we're able to address each of those individually. And it's 5 different phases. It's outreach, shelter, job training, employment, and housing. That's sort of a continuum that we assist each person with.
And so how does, Camp to Home, obviously, homelessness and the unhoused population are things that are on everyone's minds, especially here in the San Joaquin Valley. How does Camp to Home, foster community involvement? And are there any other initiatives that Modesto is sort of using to help uplift the city and its residents, in particular the unhoused population?
Right. Camp to Home is a community-wide initiative, and part of it starts with low barrier shelters, and then we have local businesses that hire the individuals and assist them with job training. There's case management all along the way, and ultimately, this will help with supportive housing assistance. Another program that we have that works side by side with Camp to Home is our Downtown Streets team. And that is one of the most inspiring initiatives that I've ever been involved with. This program does critical case management, housing navigation, and housing placement services. And there's some real inspiring stories. We have a video, famous now, that's received awards, an award-winning Camp to Home video that describes this. And the city of Modesto actually recently won a Helen Putnam Award of Excellence for this partnership with Downtown Streets teams. And it's really great to go and attend their leadership meetings and hear the inspiring stories of how people have really been made to feel more whole and are certainly a part of our community.
Well, that's certainly important. Mayor Zwahlen, I just want to thank you for joining the Maddy Report today. It was a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Maddy Report. We're talking with Lemoore Mayor Patricia Matthews. Mayor Matthews, thanks for being on the Maddy Report. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and just dive right in. Let's start with a brief introduction. You've been mayor of Lemoore since 2022. You've been on the council, I believe, since 2020. Is
Correct.
that correct? And what are your primary responsibilities as mayor, and what sort of inspired your journey into public service?
As far as my primary responsibilities as mayor, it's not much unlike any other council member. We have the same responsibilities, other than I do run the meetings, and if there is an event that the council is represented at, I would be like the face of council.
Great. And in terms of Lemoore, it's a valley city with a lot of charm. I always love going there myself. What are some of the challenges that are facing Lemoore right now, though, for the council and just in general?
Probably our biggest challenge that we're having right now in Lemoore is our budget deficit. We've had a structural deficit for quite some time, trying to figure out how to remedy that. The city has made a lot of cuts on the back end that don't really affect the public, but we're getting to a point where more severe cuts need to be made, and that's where the public's really going to feel it. So that's really our biggest challenge, is how to overcome the budget deficit and how to move forward from that. Economic development is huge. We're trying to grow our city. We're kind of a bedroom community, so trying to get more businesses in to bring jobs, places for people to shop, those type of things. That's what we're also working really hard on right now to accomplish.
Great. And everyone also always brings up challenges, and when it comes to government, that seems to be what government is typically involved with trying to solve. But Also, I think, something that should be brought up are opportunities and things that are positive that are going on. And so, obviously you're very involved, you're very active in the community. What are some of your top priorities for, not only just as mayor, but also for the whole city council right now?
Coming up with a way to shore our budget up to make sure that we're financially sound. Bringing in businesses, of course, for our residents to shop at and also be employed at. And then also just continuing all the community events that we currently have, and then seeing where we can add more potentially. We do have that small town feel still. We do have a homecoming parade still, a Veterans Day parade coming up. We still do a lot of those things that a lot of other cities don't do anymore. So just continuing to have that type of atmosphere and the lifestyle that we're accustomed to in Lemoore, just to continue that while still trying to grow and balance all of that.
Yeah, it's definitely, sort of a special thing to still have that small town feel. I think that is unique sort of to the Central Valley, in a lot of towns in cities throughout the United States, but certainly in Lemoore, having that sort of close-knit community is a really special thing that I think a lot of folks may not always get to experience if they live in a larger city. But, you also mentioned the growth. Talk a little bit about economic development. What are sort of the ways that the city is exploring that, to the extent that you can talk about it? What are some opportunities in that area?
So we're looking at how to make us more business friendly. Just talking to developers, what's holding you up, what's keeping you out, what are ways that we can cut some of the red tape to help bring you in. We've partnered with Retail Strategies, which is a company that helps try to recruit businesses to come to our city. One of our issues, being such a small city, is now businesses look at data and analytics to decide where they want to open a store. So they don't really look at your city, they just look at what it looks like on paper. So we did decide to start going to the ICSC conferences so that we can get in front of businesses and tell our story instead of just letting the data tell our story. Because I think we are unique. We do support our businesses. Our Kmart that closed was one of the last ones in the area to close. Same thing with our Fresh and Easy. It was the last one in the district to close. So I think, and all of the things that we have going on surrounding us, that all of that data doesn't show either. The base, just a few miles out of town. We have the Surf Ranch, very close, right at the edge of city limits. There's a lot we have to offer that you don't necessarily see it when you're just looking at the data.
Yeah, absolutely.
So telling our story.
Yeah, the story is so important. We'll be right back after this break. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back to the Maddy Report. We're talking with Lemoore Mayor Patricia Matthews. Thanks again, Mayor, for being on with us today. Really appreciate it. Let's talk about, we sort of talked about the challenges before, but, in recent news, the City Council approved a sales tax measure for the November ballot to address, community safety and services. How does this measure align with your long-term vision for the city? And how do you see it sort of helping to build that resilience within the community? And of course, this episode may air after the election, so we don't know what's going to happen. But I think maybe just speak more broadly to, how what are some of the creative solutions to shoring up those financial challenges?
So Measure S is a huge part of that. As I mentioned before, we've been operating in a structural deficit for a long time. We're getting to a point where more cuts need to be made to balance the budget. But one of the things that council and myself in particular wanted to make sure that we gave the public an opportunity to have a voice in that before we go and make those drastic cuts that will really affect our daily lives, to give the residents an opportunity to decide we want to fund those services as they currently are, or if they want to say, you know what, balance the budget, make whatever cuts need to be made, and we'll deal with that. So it's really giving the people that voice to have that say. It doesn't mean that there's still not more work to do, because it doesn't shore up that gap, but it will help. So we'll see how that goes, and we can either do it with a little bit of help, or we can make the cuts and then build our way back. So.
And we'll certainly see what happens on election day with that. You know, you talked a little bit about, you know, the unique aspect of Lemoore being a small city, you know, still having that small town feel, and you know, the city's been hosting a lot of events. You know, the Western Cowgirls Barrel Racing Association competition, you know, the Veterans Day run, the homecoming parade that you talked about. You know, how do these events fit into your vision for supporting local businesses in the community? What do events like that mean to the city of Lemoore, and how do they uplift and support, you know, local businesses?
So I think when we have events for downtown in particular, there's people that we just had a candy crawl for Halloween. So kids come down and they go and trick or treat all of the businesses downtown and some of the booths that people put up downtown as well. Every year that I go down there and I'm participating, I always hear somebody say, "Oh, I didn't know we had a pool store downtown," or "I didn't know we had this downtown." So it gets people downtown, it gets them, you know, in the door of the businesses and seeing what they have to offer. But just the sense of community is huge. Whenever we have any type of event, people show up big time, not only from Lemoore, but from surrounding areas too. We do hear a lot that people really enjoy the events that we have. Same thing with our rec department. We have people, not only residents of Lemoore that participate in our rec department, but we have residents from Hanford and the surrounding communities as well. We just do things well, so people like to be a part of it. So
that's great. You know, and speaking of, you know, people maybe not knowing, you know, where things are, and, you know, in terms of local businesses, there is a rather, you know, large entity that's, you know, near the city of Lemoore, that NAS Lemoore, Naval Air Station Lemoore. A lot of San Joaquin Valley residents are proud to have that base in their backyard. You know, what's the city's relationship with the base, and how does it sort of affect the overall economy in the area?
we have a great relationship with the base. I meet with periodically with the captain there. He just met with our new city manager recently, so they had a good conversation. We're working on some ways to build some infrastructure to help both the city, not only the city, but also the base as well, you know, just with any things that might come up. So just looking at how we can partner together and make our lives better all the way around on the base and off the base. A lot of people that are stationed there do live in town. So I got lost in the question, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think, you know, just in terms of the base and, you know, its impact in the region, it sounds like it has, you know, a big impact, and it sounds like the city works closely with the base from what you're describing and what you're saying.
Yeah, just trying to find ways to work together. They make a big economic impact to our city. I don't know what our city would look like if they weren't there, to be honest. That and agriculture are huge for us. So they're very vital to our city's sustainability, I think.
Great. Well, Mayor Matthews, thank you for joining the program today.
Thank you,
really
sir.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for tuning into the Maddy Report. To learn more about the Maddy Institute, visit maddyinstitute.com. We'll see you next week. The views expressed in the Maddy Report are those of the individuals participating in the program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Maddy Institute. If you'd like to share your thoughts about today's episode of the Maddy Report, please visit our website at maddyinstitute.com.